Hey y'all, this is Grant Sasha of Gridiron Football. I'm joined here with Jace Lejeune. Yeah, he's been a beat writer with us for the last 2 years before I even came on the show. So I don't know why I'm sounding like I'm a senior member, a
Right.
senior member of Gridiron Football. But he's been in for 2 years. He's helped me a lot with high school football, and we've known each other for quite a long time. And I'm glad to be able to sit here and talk about high school football around the state. And then also, it's this whole thing is about promoting not only high school football in the state of Louisiana, but promoting its teams and some of its players as well. And today, we're going to start off, we go over a recap over what happened last weekend, and as well as we're going to we're going to have a top 10 list of high school football games across the state, and then we're also going to pick a winner and preview a little bit, and let's get things going with there's some controversy last weekend. Oh, not even last week, but pretty much the whole season with Easton. And Easton, they've been dealing with some issues with player eligibilities. There's been a couple of fights, unfortunately, and then also there's the whole recruiting scandal. So and last weekend, as I think everyone may well know, that they had to cancel their game against Mazur Prep, and their season has been effectively canceled. So just it's big news coming out of New Orleans. Warren Easton is one of the bigger state powers that we have in Louisiana. So what do you have to say about their whole situation, and do you think it's something that they can rebound off of?
Yeah, I certainly trust Coach Jerry Phillips, and what he's done with that program has been nothing short of spectacular. I mean, the only thing that he's been really missing, you can probably say he's been the most successful football coach without a state championship in the state. What they do really year in and year out. It's just one of those situations where it's just really, this situation just got snowballed from the beginning, and really Warren Easton just couldn't really rebound from it. It was really unfortunate from the very beginning that for these seniors, I really feel bad for them, that the senior season is taken away from them. It's hard to rebound from that, and from the very beginning of the season, it just seemed like Warren Easton just couldn't really shake that off. At the beginning of the season, they were playing really good football. They were beating some really good football teams. I feel like early in the season, they said, okay, it's us against the world.
Yeah.
We're going to show them. But it was just really one thing after another, and it's just kind of derailed the season from then.
And just for clarification, my mom is a long-time teacher at Warren Easton. My youngest brother, Jackson, is actually currently a student at Warren Easton. So this kind of hit home for me, and it kind of sucks for not only the coaches and the players, but the school itself. The school has a lot of pride, not only in their football team, but the school as a whole and everything that they do. And it just sucks. And this kind of reminds me of, maybe not to the same extent, but the whole situation with Southern Lab. Remember?
Right.
They got in trouble with LSA. It was pretty bad. It was pretty murky, and then Darrell Osberg comes in, and he does a fantastic job with that program. And they won state 2 years ago, where they beat a very good Washington Christian team. So I think they will rebound, and I think they'll be back to the same old Easton, because they have a lot of talent on that team. So it's hard for me to see that Easton team kind of fall apart.
Yeah, it's not going to be like SMU or anything like that.
Exactly.
It derails them for the next 3 decades. It's just a year that's lost.
And people forget, like, the first 2 wins of the year were against Ruston and Catholic.
Right.
They beat a really good Ruston team, who a lot of people think is a favorite to win state this year in Division I Select. And then also, they smashed Catholic. That was one of the games I was at.
It was.
And they destroyed them. They made Catholic look like they shouldn't be on the same field.
And that Ruston team is no joke. And for them to beat them, that shows you. I was really impressed with how Coach Phillips really managed the situation. The coaching staff managed that situation early in the season, but unfortunate circumstances really derailed the seaone.
Then again, this is also another thing that they're going to take in heart next year, and their whole motto is 30-19 versus everybody.
Right.
So I think they're going to be fine. But let's go on to head to the next topic. Recently the LSA got together and they kind of determined the classifications for from the years 2024 through 2026. That'll be something that maybe we should look out for eventually down the line. Not right now, because obviously we want to focus on this season.
Yeah,
but that would be something we should all look forward to during the spring and summer. See how they manage that. But going back to what we were talking about this year, we want to focus on this year. Let's go ahead and go through some recaps, game recaps from this past weekend.
And just got to remind you, Grant, for this past weekend, I probably can't help you too much because I had to go to a buddy's wedding of mine.
Yeah.
It's the occasional bye week for me with something like that. But, I'm going to definitely do the best I can to help you out there.
His boy Zach just had a wedding.
Yeah, shout out to Zach and Caitlin. Congratulations.
Yeah. But, screw you, Caitlin. You decided to have a wedding during the football season. You taking precious time away from him, covering football and enjoying the sport that we all love. Screw you, Caitlin. But no, seriously, yeah. Congrats to Zach.
Better watch out for Caitlin.
I know. I was actually able, fortunately, to meet Zach. Actually at the when we're covering the LSU Grambling game. Yeah, and he came along with Jason.
Yeah,
got to meet him. So congrats to Zach and Caitlin. Shout out to them. But let's go ahead and some good game recaps. Terrebonne East St. John. I think that was probably the game that stood out to me the most.
Right.
Because East St. John was undefeated. Everyone was looking forward to the game this weekend, which we will talk about against Destrehan. Sure. And I think it was one of those cases where East St. John was looking ahead, but people forget that Terrebonne's also a very good team. Kyle and Billio, you got some Jay Johnson. Right. They got the Celestin kid.
Alvin Celestine.
He's also really good.
Quincy McKay's a receiver.
Yep. And Talon Beaton. They got a really talented team. And they also have a fantastic coaching staff there as well. Tyler Lewis is a friend of Gridiron Football.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic young coach. Only 31 years old. Yeah. So, he's not that much older than we are, actually.
Yeah, right.
But he's done a fantastic job. They upset East St. John 21-18. So, what do you have to say about that game?
Yeah, huge win. As far as wins are concerned, this early in his tenure, that has to be the biggest win for Coach Tyler Lewis. And you could say that East St. John may have been looking ahead to that pivotal matchup against Destrehan, but this result doesn't shock me too much, just because I know you were at the game the week ago with Destrehan and East St. and Terrebonne, and it's just one of those things you're talking about 22. Mm-hmm. They can match up really good with Destrehan and teams like that. It's just depth-wise, and got a chance to talk to Tyler Lewis. You actually go and look at our magazine. We wrote about it and had a 30-minute conversation with Coach Lewis, and he told me it's just really trying to establish the foundation, get more guys, get them bought in, and get more guys involved with the team. So it's really a depth thing that they're continuing to grow on, and for them, that's a great message to get a win over a team like East St. John that was undefeated, and was really a big win over a really good, well-coached, well-talented Wildcats football team by Brandon Brown, and for Tyler Lewis. And the talent is there. When we're talking about maybe sleepers in the playoffs, to look and watch out for teams that can make a run. Watch out for this Terrebonne football team, because they are capable of making a deep run in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and I think Terrebonne's another. I think we knew coming in that Terrebonne's going to be one of those sneaky teams, because obviously we all know they had they struggled last year. I think they only won 3-7 or 4-6,
right,
something like that. But they're a young team this year. They're
more experienced. Yep.
Yeah, and they also have a fantastic coaching staff. So I think they're going to be a team that you should watch out for come playoff time. They're a sleeper team, just like Jay said, and they're here to stay. And East St. John, that's not saying that East St. John is a bad team. East St. John will be a fantastic team.
Yeah.
They pushed Destrehan in the playoffs last year to the brink. Right. They could have easily been in the Dome as well. So they're still a very talented team. They got a lot of great receivers. One of the more talented receivers groups in the state. But they're another. Don't sleep on ESJ. They could easily go to Destrehan and upset Destrehan. But we'll talk about that game later on the show.
Absolutely.
But the next game we got to talk about is Carr Holy Cross. Edna Carr, they've been dealing with some issues on offense. Bryce Brown even wasn't too pleased with their win over Brother Martin. If you seen that post-game interview, he looked pissed.
Yeah.
So, but
Bryce Brown doing his Nick Saban impersonation.
Yeah, Bryce Brown seemed to get him right, because they've been playing some good ball as of late. They just beat a Holy Cross team 47-17. Holy Cross is coming off their upset loss to Brother Martin the previous week. And you kind of expecting maybe they would rebound a little bit, but Edna Carr just had to remind Holy Cross, just like Brother Martin did to them last week, that you're still not that team yet, no matter how talented you are. However, Holy Cross is still a very good team. That's somebody you still should watch out for, because they got a really talented receiving core. But they didn't really do anything the previous night. Cole Canatella, the quarterback for Holy Cross, only passed for 168 yards. And so they didn't really do much through the air, and that's their bread and butter, really. And then Carr quarterback. Yeah, he passed for 310 yards.
He's gonna be good.
Touchdowns.
He's still young.
Yeah,
He's gonna be good.
Yeah, exactly. And they seem to be building up their offense. They seem like to be the more explosive. They seem like they're looking like the same explosive Carr. So what do you have to say about Carr's win, and what do you have to say about them moving forward, along with Holy Cross?
Yeah, it was a measuring stick game for Coach Wani and Holy Cross, and like we said with John Curtis, and they got that win over John Curtis, and that shows you that they're ahead of schedule. But a game like against in the car, remember this is his first year as head coach at Holy Cross, so it's a measuring stick game for the most dominant team in the last decade, which has been in the car. So still first year. I mean, as far as like expectations, really high in order to in that division in the Catholic League to play, because that game pretty much decided the district championship. So for them to come down to the wire as far as the district and have a game to play for a district championship, I mean, as far as coach of the year, Coach Wani is up there this year as one of the top candidates for coach of the year in my book. As far as Car is concerned, I have them as the number one team in the state, regardless of classification. I mean, they can just win in so many different ways, and that's the thing about Car. A lot of people say, "Oh, you just have the best players, or the most talent." No, they're well coached, and they can win in multiple different ways. They can beat you throwing the football, beat you with defense, beat you running the football. That just shows you a championship team, that they can beat you in just so many different ways, and they just have the athletes too to boot. So that just shows more about Car, saying like them playing at this point of the year that they should be the favorite when it comes to a state championship when we go to the playoffs.
Exactly. And we're kind of waiting for John Johnson to have that big game. He kind of started off slow in the beginning of the year
because the talent showed a lot. It's just being consistent.
Being consistent, and so I think what we're going to look for Carr right now is, will John Johnson continue that success he had with against Holy Cross?
Right.
And I think if he keeps having those games like that, Carr, it's just going to be incredible. They're going to be a very tough team. They're always going to be very tough. Obviously they're always going to have the depth to win that state every year. But then you also have a guy like Bryce Brown. Bryce Brown's won 4 state championships. I mean, and he's only like in his late 30s or early 40s.
Yeah, he's still young.
He's still a young guy, so he might win a bunch. He could by the end of his career. And Carr's always going to have talent, and they run that program like a college program.
Oh yeah, without doubt.
And if you're not, all you got to do is look up. I think it's called
Algiers America. I watched it. Great documentary.
Exactly.
And it gives you a greater appreciation. Everybody's saying, oh, like the Carr coaches, the Carr coaching staff, they're just doing this just to win games. That is not the truth. Like their first priority is getting the kids out of a bad situation and making sure they're on the right path. Right. And now that message was constant through the beginning of the documentary to the end. And my respect for Bryce Brown and the Carr just raised even a lot more after watching that documentary and seeing what their mission is, and that's to get bad kids out of good kids out of bad situations, and that's really the biggest thing there. So tons of respect for the Car program. I already had a bunch of respect for him, but after watching that documentary, just raised it to the roof.
Yeah, the next game we're going to cover is also another upset game. Lutcher, they're the defending Division II non-select state champs. I mean, obviously they've been having some issues with the offense. Lunch Winfield left. That was a pretty big loss.
Our player of the year last year.
State player of the year for almost every single publication.
Yeah.
But the story about them has been the defense, and the defense has really carried the way for them. However, Assumption, who's always been one of the more peskier teams in the state, they upset them 14-10. Reese Turner, who is kind of like their, I would say Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Taysom Hill.
He's like a running back. He's listed as a receiver, but they also have, this year they have him more as a quarterback, and he's run the ball a lot. I mean, he had 84 yards through the air with a touchdown and interception, and then he had a rushing touchdown for also had 87 yards and a rushing touchdown. The passing touchdown ended up being the game-winning touchdown, and they ended up upsetting Lutcher. Reese Turner has been an incredible player this year. 1,026 yards. Well, that was on. No, that's not it. I
Yeah,
got
I'm
those
still.
stats. 1115 rushing yards, over 600 yards passing, 22 rushing touchdowns and 7 passing touchdowns. So he's almost at 30 touchdowns overall.
Yeah.
As a out of the as a quarterback, and so he's a pretty incredible player. And you also have Chase Jacobs, who's a incredible running back as well. So what do you have to say about their upset victory over Lutcher, and where do you see obsession what do you see obsession when it comes to playoff time?
Just one word for you, just gritty. They're a great football team, and you beat another gritty team in Lutcher. And really, Dwayne Jenkins has done an excellent job. And last year, he pretty much won it with his offense, and then good timing plays from his defense. But this year, it's been about the defense. So it shows you Dwayne Jenkins has won in multiple different ways this year. And this year, Assumption, this shows you that they're a gritty football team, and they're willing to really play a physical, sloppy, low-scoring, defensive struggle type football game, which is what Lutcher does really well, and that's how they won games at their own game. So that shows me that they can play that type of football game and then get guys like Reese Turner, who I told you about earlier today. I don't know what we're going to offer him as in the bowl game because, like you said, he can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
so you get a chance to probably play multiple positions when we reach out to Reese. But still, I mean, this is a gritty football team, well coached. Assumption got a really big victory, and also it's a confidence booster. Anytime you're at this point of the season, it's late in the football season, you just defeated a defending state champion too. That's a confidence booster, and we're close to the end of the season. You only got week 9, which is this week, and week 10, and boom, we're talking playoffs. So that is a big win for just a confidence boost of the team. And right now, you don't necessarily have to be the best team all year, but you can certainly be the highest team at this point of the year, and you'll be doing pretty good.
Right. The next game we're going to cover is
game that you're at.
The game I was at, Dutchtown St. Amand. Everyone expected this to be a defensive battle. I thought this would be a really good game. As well, Dutchtown is one of the better defenses in the not only the Baton Rouge but the state. Josh Lewis, Carter Hanbury is committed to Southeastern, and Josh Lewis, by the way, is a D1 prospect. He's going to be a big time prospect next year. Kind of, I won't say he's under the radar, but but he's not. Trust me, by summertime he'll be a hot commodity around here. And Caden Mackey, who I think is a diamond in the rough, he's also a fantastic player on the perimeter for defensively. Yeah. But St. Amand has a great defense as well. St. Amand,
they do.
I mean, I talked to David Oliver the day before the game. He loves the team. Even though they're kind of on the smaller end, they're a gritty team. Caleb Ricks is a fantastic player for them. He's another guy who's fallen he's kind of under the radar, and which is surprising considering that his older brother is Eli Ricks, who was All-American cornerback at both LSU and Alabama, and who's now. I think he's starting for the Eagles.
Yeah, he had a great Sunday night game.
Yeah, he had a great night. Yeah, exactly. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. However, like I just mentioned, even though St. Amand's gritty, they're on the smaller end. I think that showed against a much bigger Dutchtown team. Yeah. Not taking anything from St. Amand. I think St. Amand is going to make some noise in the playoffs. I mean, they were undefeated heading into the game.
Right.
But Dutchtown was a little bit bigger than it showed. 31-7 Dutchtown. I think that was a shocker.
Yeah,
that was definitely a shocker. So what do you have to say about Dutchtown's performance? Over 319 yards rushing.
Yeah,
against that St. Amand defense. That's not easy.
No, it's not. And the way they did was like, hey, y'all know what's coming, but y'all not gonna be able to stop it. I went back and watched your highlights too, and watched the highlights of the game, and I was just amazed. Like, hey, we're gonna run right at you. Like, we're not gonna. There's no gadget plays or no sugarcoat anything. Like, no people, all these people running in motion, right? No eye candy.
Right.
It's just we're going to straight run up the middle and try to see if you can stop it, and that's exactly what it was. I actually had a conversation with Lucas Hill on a podcast, like the Tomorrow Today podcast. Go check him out; he does a great job. Been on the show a couple of times with him, and we were talking about this game. I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna hit the under with this one. I expect it to be maybe like a 17-14 type football game, but no, I mean, I was not shocked Dutchtown won this football game, but I was really surprised how they're able to just handle Sam on from really start to finish. And like you said, another Taysom Hill type of guy, like Carter Hamberry. I mean, he does it whether it's linebacker or just rushing the football. He had a couple rushing touchdowns in the game. So great football player. Just just a really heady football player, and Guy Mastrell is doing an excellent job, and really they got a lot. Talk about the last 2 years. Their defense I put their defense up with pretty much anybody. They've been winning a lot of games on that side of the football.
And they have a great backfield. Not only does Carter Hamberry take a lot of snaps out of the Wildcat.
You got like 3 running backs.
Yeah, like Lakeisha Harvey rushed for over 100 yards.
You got
and then Gary Dukes is probably their best runner.
Yeah, Gary Dukes.
Best one of them all in terms of running backs. He had 76 yards. He had a big run at the beginning of the game, but then he got stripped by Caleb Briggs.
I saw that play. I saw that play.
Yeah, when you got and Eli saw that too because he liked it. So he liked the tweet. So I think St. Lamar will be fine. I think this is kind of they've got a big game against Walker.
And Dutch Town knows it was at home. It was homecoming.
It was senior night.
Senior night.
So there was a lot of extra motivation.
They're undefeated. That's a rivalry already. So Dutch Town was really pumped to play that game.
Exactly. I think St. Lamar is going to recover from this. I think St. Lamar is going to be fine. They have a great coaching staff. Coach David Oliver's done this for a very long time. Not only is he entering, I think his 17th.
He's been
18th year at St. Lamar. Something like that.
He's the second longest. I think he's the second longest tenured head coach at one school in Baton Rouge. Now I think the only other guy that may be ahead of him is Travis Bourgeois. At Episcopal. But he's been there for a long
before
time.
this, he also he was coaching collegiate football. He coached with my dad for 3 or 4 years at Tulane. I actually did not know that until I went to John F. Kennedy's practice in New Orleans to go talk to Linares L. Page and Bernard Causey, who just committed to LSU after less than 24 hours ago.
I got to write an article about this when we get off the air.
And if you speaking of Bernard Causey, I did an article about him, Diamond in the Rough.
First one.
The first one I ever read about it. Go check it out, and then also go check out Jason's article whenever he's published with that too. Great kid. But going back to my story. But he told me because JFK actually played Cinema earlier in the year, and he's like, hey, we won against Coach Oliver and blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, you remember Coach Oliver was always like, I did not know he coached. I did not know. I did not know he. Not only I know that Linares played, also played under David Oliver, but David Oliver coached my dad, so I had to meet him.
Yeah, right.
And a great guy, awesome guy.
Yeah.
I mean, the way St. Lamar plays football. And if you meet Coach Oliver, you're like, okay, this is why they play.
Hard-nosed, old school.
And don't sleep on Santa Monica just because they lost against touchdown. They're still a great team, and they'll make some noise come playoff time as well.
If anything, Grant, I was going to add to it. Maybe this loss actually helps them because being undefeated is just kind of hovering over you. Like you lose a game, okay, all right, we can reset and we can just focus on just doing our job. And sometimes hovering around undefeated all the time, maybe not the best thing. So if they get that loss, it's probably not the worst thing for them moving forward.
Right. Another game we're gonna have to cover. Moving on to we really haven't covered North Louisiana yet.
Yeah.
We got the chance to just because there's a lot of big games in South Louisiana this weekend. But
we definitely keep an eye on North Louisiana.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
we always do. Just unfortunately,
travel,
expenses. We don't have that right now. And if you're in North Louisiana and you want to cover high school football in North Louisiana, let us know. Definitely let us know. You can email Jace, you can email Andy. Just hit us up, DM us on Twitter. Well, if you want to cover a game, do some freelance work, just let us know.
Yeah, we'd love to promote y'all.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And also we get
more coverage.
We get more coverage in North Louisiana as well. We get to help out. We get to cover some of those North Louisiana high school football teams as well. And they got a lot of great football up there.
And we're going to have a North Louisiana team that we'll be covering this week. But we'll talk about that later.
And moving on to North Louisiana, Calvary Baptist is they're probably, in my opinion, the pound for pound best team in the state.
Yeah.
Or if they're not number one, they're definitely
top three.
Yeah, top three.
Because right now I feel like there's 3 teams we've been talking about all year. You can say, in the car, Calvary Baptist, Ruston, and maybe even want to put LCA in that mix too.
Jawan, it's really just Jawan.
Right.
Now LCA has a team as a whole, but Jawan's just been putting up numbers.
So you want to put those 4 teams?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, I mean,
but Calvary, they beat the Auburn Woods 35-0. That
Who's
was
been having a good year this
they're
year.
undefeated.
They were
Undefeated
Yep.
matchup, and a lot of people thought maybe this could be a game where Calvary kind of slips up a little bit, and Auburn could pull off the upset, just like Carabone did with East St. John,
Right.
And Assumption did with Lutcher, and even you get to make a case that Dutchtown did with St. Amant. I don't see it as an upset. They were undefeated at the time,
Right.
So, but Calvary beat them 35-0.
Dutchtown.
Yep, Dutchtown.
Yeah,
Yep. Calvary Baptist beat the Auburn Woods 35-0. So, what do you have to say about Calvary's team? Do you think they're the number one team in Division II Select? Division III Select.
Division III, yeah.
And then where do you see Auburn Woods moving on from here?
Yeah, and not a lot of people have been talking about really the job Coach Tommy Thorpe has done over there. And Tommy Thorpe, if that's a name that rings a bell, he was the head coach for a long time at Mangum, and he had some really good football teams at Mangum. They went to the Dome a couple of times. So, I mean, as far as coaches are concerned, as far as underrated coaches in the state, Tommy Thorpe is at the top of that list, and what he's doing with that Auburn Woods team has just been nothing short of spectacular over there. And really, Calvary, everybody's been saying really the non-district part of their schedule at the beginning of the season, that was going to be really tough, right? Because every week you're playing a 5A team like Captain Tree and CE Bird, and like they're playing some really tough games at the beginning of the season. A lot of people say, "Oh, district play, they're going to be able to maybe play a lot of different guys and get a good feel of like really testing out for the playoffs when the playoffs come along." But this was probably their toughest game until the playoffs would come, and they passed that test, and they've really pretty much passed every test this year. I mean, it's not often when you beat really good 5A teams bad, and they did. Like, they made a really good Captain Tree 5A football team, and what Captain Tree's 2A. I mean, not Captain Tree. Calvary Baptist is 2A. They made a really good 5A team look pretty mediocre.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just been really, really incredible what they're doing. All the offensive skill guys they got is insane.
Yep.
What Calvary Baptist does have. So, pound for pound, that is a really tough class they are in. You're talking about that Division 3 Select. I mean, that's tough when you got Dunham. We saw Dunham, what they were able to do with Elijah Heyman at quarterback. I mean, you can go and look, and you have St. Charles Catholic won the last 2 state championships in that bracket.
Better than the previous
Right. You got them.
Dude,
Newman. I feel like this is Newman's best football team since I've been really covering Louisiana high school football, and that includes the Arch Manning team. So, like, Notre Dame is it's just going to be tough, whoever you're going to have to play in that division. And I believe, I think U-High is Division
Division 3.
Oh, Division 3. So you got U-High.
U-High, yeah. And then Parkview.
So U-High's got the talent that could be in Parkview, Mass and Prep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the thing about
it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of I think we've also forgot to mention this too with St. Amant Dutchtown. Their district is tough. I mean,
underrated district.
One more underrated district. So they got 3 teams. They got 3 teams in the top 10 in Division 1 not select. So in my opinion, if you had to go by divisions, just alone, I think it would probably be, in my opinion, Division 1 non-select, Division 1 select, and I think Division 3 select.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I think because just in terms of the amount of teams, from top to bottom, if you go through 1 through 12.
Yeah, depth-wise, yeah.
Yeah, depth-wise. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, Division 2 select is pretty tough too, but it's more top-heavy than the 3 we just mentioned. But yeah, that's a very, very that's a tough road.
And Division 2 non-select is one of those that they don't have a lot of big heavy hitters, but there's a bunch of options that could win state in that this division. It's just not top-heavy with names.
Right, exactly. And we're going to move on to the preview for this weekend. I think, this is kind of next week I think is going to be the big kahuna of the weekend.
Yeah, you got to get the season finale, regular season finale.
Yeah, but I think this weekend's kind of like I wouldn't say it's appetizer, but it's kind of like the main course before you get to the main course.
Yeah,
I don't even know what to describe it because there's a lot of great football games, not only in the North, but in the South. I think the next 2 weeks, South Louisiana is going to really shine with some of their bigger games. And we're going to start off with a big-time rivalry between two teams that hate each other.
Yeah, they're not getting they're not sending Christmas cards to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Karen Crow at Acadiana.
Mm-hmm.
Karen Crow, they're led by Chance Babineau. Chance Babineau is, I think, he's third in passing yards
It's
in
crazy.
the state.
It's crazy.
I think he's damn near 2,000 yards. He might be over 2,000 yards a lot.
Yeah.
That was last week. So, but Chance Babineau, great player. You got Kashmir Baptiste.
Mm-hmm.
Karen Crow is speaking of tough and gritty, they're another tough and gritty team. Acadiana. They got two great defensive linemen and the McKinley
Russell
brothers.
Babineau, they got receiver.
Russell Babineau, receiver.
They got like 3 or 4 good running backs.
They always do.
They always do.
Have, and then they also have a quarterback.
You can throw the ball downfield.
Throw the ball down the field, and he just knows their offense. I mean, that's your stereotypical Acadiana team. These are both two teams that are from the Lafayette area. This isn't your Turley, Turleys or LCA, where it's kind of, or even a Stan where it's a little finesse. They got some physicality, but it's a little more finesse. Karen Crow and Acadiana are just gonna pound you. They're your brawlers, and these two teams are literally brawlers.
That was one of the best games I covered last year. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to go see him on a Thursday, and Acadiana won on a goal line stand. Mm-hmm. Karen Crow actually tried to go for the win and get the 2-point conversion, and Acadiana stopped him. So that was a classic game to cover last year, and that's going to be a really fun game to go and I'm intrigued to see who's going to come out with it.
Right, and then Karen Crow beat them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they got the revenge of the playoffs. I mean, this is a very even matchup, and I think that this game really determines who wins the district.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's Karen Crow's undefeated. Acadiana, they've lost 2, but both those losses
non-district
to LCA
and John Curtis.
Yeah. And so this game really determines. I wouldn't say it determines the district because obviously you got next week as well. Mm-hmm. Well, no, actually, no. This is determined.
Yeah, this is going to determine.
Because Karen Crow next week, they play Shaw. They play a non-district game.
Right.
So it does determine the district. So what are you looking forward going into this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be the obvious thing that you're going to be saying, but it's going to be McKinney against Babineau. How effective is he going to be in getting to Babineau? Containing him. How is that Acadiana defensive line going to contain Chance Babineau? Mm-hmm. And we saw it Southside, I thought that was probably the best D line that we've seen Karen Crow really play, and we were at that game, and they really gave Karen Crow some fits, offensively in that game. So, and I think there's a Acadiana defensive line. I mean, it's going to be challenged to block those guys up front. So, how can those guys really corral Chance Babineau and prevent him from extending plays? And because he's got that ability like Jawan. He can extend plays. He can make stuff happen. How do you force him to win the game in the pocket as a passer? That's going to be the biggest challenge.
And, I think, you look at this game. It's a really tough game to see who's going to win. But I'm probably going to go with Karen Crow just because I think they're just a little bit better, not by much. I think Chance Babineau will be a little bit too much to contain. I think it'll be a very close one, just like that Southside game. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be 21-17 Karen Crow.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's going to be really close either way. Either way you slice it, whether you pick Acadiana or Karen Crow. Just because of it, I'm going to go with Acadiana. Just because I think that they have the more overall team, just based on what I've seen from them against Sam Houston. Right. So I think what they're going to do is play ball control. Just the quarterback's going to manage the offense. They're going to make plays when they need to, and then they're going to make sure that Chance is off the field. I say something like a 24-21 type of football game, but it should be a fun one either way.
Yep. And moving on to another big-time game in South Louisiana, Brother Martin Curtis. Even though this game, if Brother Martin wins this game, I think they will be tied. I think if Brother Martin wins this game, and I think it's one of those great scenarios where if Carl loses against Curtis next week, and Brother Martin beats Curtis, and then there's a Holy Cross Well, no, it'd be
And
a two-way tie.
I know Carr has to
Yeah.
somehow lose.
Yeah, like
too.
it could be a two-way tie. So
Yeah.
this is a crazy situation. But I think the reason why this game stands out is if Curtis wins, JT will tie the national record for most wins by a high school head coach.
Yeah.
Both really good defenses. Both offenses have kind of struggled, kind of sputtered throughout the year. They both like to run the ball. Curtis, we may well know that they're a bigger team, so they're going to run the ball. Brother Martin, they've had some issues at the quarterback spot, so they had to rely on the running game, which is led by Jordan West and Sidney Harris.
Right.
Kind of like a flash, what's called thunder and lightning.
Yeah, 1-2 punch.
Yeah, exactly. And so, looking at this game, I think it'll be a very close game. But what do you have to say about this game? What are you looking forward to in this game? And do you think Brother Martin could continue their success? Because they're one of the harder teams in the state.
They've shown it. I mean, anytime you can bring in the car down to the wire and really give them their best punch, I mean, they've shown it. And they beat some really good football teams. And you mentioned, I believe it was they ended Holy Cross's undefeated season too. So, they're definitely capable. And I know that Coach Bonice has really got this team in the right direction in the last couple of weeks. But I think with history on the line, I can't go against it. I got JT tying that and getting that. Hopefully, put himself in position to get that record. I think it'd be pretty cool if he gets that record against and the car. And not, of course, that'll be the game for him to get it. But I think you got to get in that position first, and I really think that this team's going to be playing for him. I really like John Curtis to get that win and really put JT in position to get that record-setting win.
Right. I think John Curtis is going to win this game. It would be another close game. Two defensive teams. I think it would be like a score like 24-21. It'd be a very close game. I can't see these. I can't see
all those Catholic League games are close.
Oh
man.
yeah,
they really are.
Yeah, and they're kind of inseparable. Like that's how great the Catholic League is. I think if they're not the best district in the state, they're top three.
It's always
for sure.
up there. Yep.
Yeah, because the amount of talent they have and the great coaching staffs that they have. But yeah, I think it's Curtis going to win something like 24-21. I think defense is going to be a dominating storyline in this game. So JT's going to tie the record. And then next week, I think, he has a chance to break it.
Yeah.
Against a really good card team.
Or he has a chance to do it in the playoffs,
But we'll see. Let's finish this weekend before we get to next weekend.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. So, and then we're going to turn our gears to North Louisiana Airline at Parkway.
Yeah.
Parkway, they one of the better teams. Been one of the better teams in the state the last 10 years. They got a great coaching staff. They're very strong on the line, on both O-line and D-line.
Yeah.
And they also have the best kicker in the country. I know
that's right.
We don't really like to talk about kickers around here. I guess they're kind of like undervalued position.
Yeah,
because
right.
Everyone's like people think kickers aren't football players.
Yeah,
too.
right, sure.
But they're very valuable, and I think in this game it'll be extremely valuable.
Yeah.
Because a great team like Airline, Aaron Burrow,
LSU
commit number one kicker in the country, is a great kicker. He can kick from 50 yards out, which is, that's something that not a lot of high school kickers can do, which is why he's the number one kicker.
Yeah, it's not a luxury to have a lot in high school.
And then they host Airline, who I think has been one of the best teams in the state.
Best offenses for sure.
Yeah, best offense for sure. Number one offense in the state. Ben Taylor, their quarterback, leads the state in passing.
Yep.
They got Trey Jacks, who's a phenomenal back out of the backfield, who's not only a great back running the ball, but he's also a great pass catcher out of the
Bob
backfield.
Patterson, too.
Bob Patterson,
yep.
And then Jarvis Jones, he leads the state, and he's fifth in the state. I think his name's Jarvis Davis, but he's fifth in the state in receiving yards. So, how do you think this? Do you think Airline could hold off a upset-minded Parkway? Even though I don't like to say it's an upset-minded Parkway because they're both only lost one game.
Well, if you're Airline and your coach Scoggins, if you're seeing Burrell kicking field goals, 50-yard field goals, you're taking that regardless. Because, your offense could put up 6 points, and that's what's going to be really the message from Coach Scoggins and Ben Taylor and that offense. I think Ben Taylor's the leading passer in the state this year with the numbers he's been putting up. So if he sees Burrell kicking 50-yard field goals, whether he makes them or not, he's going to be satisfied with that because there's a good chance that his offense will be putting up a lot of sevens. And as y'all know, no math whiz, but sevens beat threes. So.
Right, exactly. And, I think, this shout out to Coach Scoggin, by the way. I got to meet him during the summer when I was working with Lee McKean. Shout out Lee, too.
Yeah.
But Justin Scoggins is a great guy. He's got the program in the right direction. He's from Leesville. He's actually from –
Yeah, he is.
He's from Leesville.
Yeah,
Leesville's a Leesville guy through and through, and he's done a great job with that airline
Wampus
program.
Cat.
Wampus Cat. Well, top 5 nickname in the state.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Top 5, yeah. And he's done a great job with the program, and he's done a great job developing that offense, including Ben Taylor and Jarvis Johnson. I mean, he got some sleepers on that team. And those are some names you should watch for next year, because a lot of those offensive guys we mentioned are coming back.
Yeah,
so they're going to
be a lot of points.
They're going to be a
year.
top 5 state in the, next year too, and they're going to make some noise in the playoffs this year.
Yeah,
for sure. And also in a very tough district with Captain Shreve, Parkway, you just mentioned, C. Bird. I mean, they got some great teams in that district. But I'm gonna
Haughton's in that district too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Haughton's a tough team too. Like they may not be like those as talented as some of those teams we just mentioned, but they
play hard.
They play hard, and they're gonna be somebody that on paper they shouldn't be, and so they got a great coach staff over there as well. But I think I'm gonna go with Airline in this one. I think it's gonna be a high scoring. I think it's gonna be a pretty high scoring game. I think it'll be, and that's usual with these Airline games. They're gonna tend to be high scoring. I'm gonna go with Airline 56, Parkway 42.
Yeah,
I think something like that because they're two really great teams. So, what do you think, Jace?
It's gonna be. I agree with you 100%. I just don't see if it's a shootout. I just don't see Parkway just scoring with Airline, and I just don't think this game. I believe is going to be a track meet. And I don't think they can keep up with Airline. Yep. So I agree with you. It's going to be like 55 to 41 or something like that. It's going to be a really high-scoring football game.
And another game I want to mention, too, is a game that I'm going to cover this weekend. So just follow my Twitter feed, follow Gridiron's Twitter feed as well. But it's the Holy Cross Jesuit game. It's one of the more historic rivalries in the state, probably the most historic rivalry in the state, in my opinion. And also nationwide. I mean, this is one of the longest running rivalry games in the nation.
It's been 140 years.
Yeah, exactly. And, we're going to talk about Holy Cross Judge. Holy Cross, we just mentioned, is one of the better stories in the state. In the state of New Orleans, they've really rebounded because Holy Cross for, the last 20, 25 years has been that program's like, oh, Holy Cross is on the schedule. Oh, okay, it's a dub. I won't say it's an automatic dub, but that's how people view them. They don't really get any respect. And this year they started off hot. They got 6-0. Got started off the 6-0 record. I think they beat John Curtis for the first time ever.
It was. First time ever.
Yeah, first time ever. And they got to a hot start, and then they kind of sputtered a little bit. They lost the last 2 games. They got upset by Brother Martin. Then Carr came in and whooped their behinds, and both those teams are like, haha, you're still the same Holy Cross, even though I don't think so. But that's how teams around the Catholic view them. Because this is the first time they've won games, and now they're like, oh, damn, they're celebrating now. They're dancing in the end zone. They're high-fiving each other. And they're talking major trash, yada, yada, yada. So, but honestly, that shows that Holy Cross has come a long way because now teams hate them. They want to beat them. Yeah. And and that says a lot about what the job that Coach Wani has done. However, they're going against a pesky Jesuit team. Even though Jesuit has struggled this year, they're 3-5 on the year. Usually in rivalry games like this, they always play their opponents tough.
Yeah.
Even they could get killed they can look bad against Carr and Curtis, but when they go against a team like Brother Martin or a team like Holy Cross, they tend to play their best football. And the same goes for Holy Cross as well.
Right.
Do you think that Jesuit may pull up the upset, considering that Holy Cross is, they kind of sputtered. I think Jesuit may have caught them on the right time.
I agree. I was just about to say, if there's a team on the upset alert, I think it's Holy Cross, especially after last week. I mean, that game was for the district championship, and then the Carr just handled them from the beginning. And so how is that team going to bounce back from that? That's going to be the biggest thing. And Jesuit, when you got rivalry games like this, just throw the records out the window with games like this. And I just have this feeling with Jesuit has been able to, even though they're 3-5, they tripped up some good teams this year. So I just think it's going to be one of those weeks where Jesuit can pull this thing off, and I just have this weird feeling about Jesuit this week. So, give me Jesuit to pull off the upset.
Yeah. Wow. That's a bold statement.
Yeah.
I think this game will be close. I don't think Jesuit will win per se, but I think it'll be a lot closer than a lot of people think it's going to be. I think Jesuit will play their hearts out, but I think Holy Cross's offense just will be a little bit too much for Jesuit. I think in the end, Holy Cross will win 21-7. I think it'll be very, very close. I think it's going to be close up to the fourth quarter. I just don't see Holy Cross losing a third straight game, despite their issues. But I think, I think Cole Canatella, Kobe Young, Cross Johnson, they're going to pull it together. I think they're going to be fine at the end of the day. I know their offense hasn't looked good against Brother Martin and definitely didn't look good against Carr, but I think this is kind of like their rebound game. This is time to reset everything. You're going against a team like Jesuit, who's beating you. I think the last time they beat Holy Cross beat Jesuit was like 2017, 2018, something along those. So they haven't beaten them in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So I think this is a game that Holy Cross marked on the schedule for a long time because they want to beat these boys, and it's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
And that stadium's going to be packed, so I got to be there early.
Oh, yeah. You got to find your spot early.
Oh, yeah. I got to find my spot
If
early.
anything, I'm giving Holy Cross a lot of motivation. So Coach Wandy's probably saying, this idiot Jason has no idea what he's talking about.
You already know Wandy's are talking. You already know what's talking. That's who Wandy is.
I know Coach Wandy.
I love Wandy, man. He's a definitely a
So you're welcome for the assist, Coach.
Yeah,
That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Come find them at Gridiron Football. If you know, Coach, if you know their address, I'll put $100.
I'll take the heat, Coach.
I'll give you $1,000 to beat them up. I actually don't have that money, but I'll watch you beat them up for free, Coach. But yeah.
Well, I mean, we might have to take the money. So like, I mean,
but,
whatever.
But moving on. East St. John at Destrehan. This is another game where East St. John's coming off a tough loss. We just mentioned earlier in the show. Destrehan is probably, in my opinion, the number 2, number 3 team in Division I Knoxlet, which is an extremely tough division. Even though their power ratings, according to LCA, they're 8.
Much lower than what they should be. Much lower.
Really low. And this is why we don't rely on power ratings. Probably to come playoff time. They give us a good indication of how good these teams are, but at the end of the day, everyone knows that Destrehan shouldn't.
Well, everybody's going to be paying attention next week. So when the power ratings come up.
100%. Yeah. Even though people hate on this power ratings, we keep looking at them. It's like that bowler. So I forgot the guy's name. It's like, you may hate me, but you're watching.
Yep.
I mean, that's what it is.
Right.
But what do you have to say about Destrehan? Not only I think we talk a lot about Kalashnikov's defense, but their offense has really come along. They started slow early in the year, but Jackson Fields has really found his stride. He's in Johnny Teal, the receiver spot. Then you also have what's his name? He's been on Player of the Week and Step of the Time.
Yeah.
Jabari Mack.
Jabari Mack.
Yeah. Jabari Mack is another sophomore. Great player. They got a couple other players who are sophomores and juniors.
They got Shane Lee, who's been there since since Moses' time. Before Moses. Abraham. So they got a lot of great players.
But they got a lot of great players. But what do you have to say about? You think East St. John will kind of bounce back and maybe not even win this game, but make this game interesting because they had a tough loss.
Yeah. They can definitely do that. Look at last year. The regular season game between these two teams, Destrehan dominated them. It wasn't even close. And they actually had to play each other again in the playoffs, and everyone's like, oh, Destrehan really kicked their butts last time. Yeah. So they're going to do that again. Well, no. I mean, Destrehan has survived to win that game in the playoffs and the rematch. So they're going to give it. I don't think that loss is going to really affect them as far as coming off sluggish or slow against Destrehan. I just think that they're going to be. They've had this game marked for a long time. They're going to be ready to play that football game and try to get Destrehan their best shot. The thing is, we'll see if their best shot is good enough when Destrehan is playing at their best game. So I think Destrehan knows the stakes too. I think they've had this game mark on their schedule a lot. So with that being said, I really like Destrehan to go and get this win and try to come up with another undefeated season if they could.
Yeah, and East St. John's offense has speaking of high-powered offense, we just talked about Destrehan's offense. They got a high-powered offense as well. I mean, they have 2 receivers who have over 600
Yeah, Kai Joseph's one of them, right?
Kai Joseph and then Coyle Gray.
Yeah,
who are both juniors, who will also be back next year. So
a
lot of talent out of the receiver spot going into 2024. As we've talked about this before. The class of 2025 to 2027 are going to be insane.
Yeah, they're going to be seeing a lot of scoring.
A lot of quarterbacks, a lot of receivers. I mean, it's stacked.
Mm-hmm.
So I think let's go to prediction of this game. I think Destrehan's going to win. I think it'll be a close game, but I think it'll be kind of high scoring. I'm going to go with 35-28.
That's exactly my score.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about this, but that was exactly my score.
Yeah.
So I had Destrehan winning 35-28.
Yeah, I think the offense is gonna go flow smoothly throughout this game. I think it'll be another Destrehan East St. John classic. I think Destrehan's gonna pull off the end, but I think East St. John's gonna keep it interesting because it's East St. John. They got a lot of talent. And I think last week was a letdown. They know that. So I think they're going to come off a little bit stronger going into this game.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a hangover or anything. They're going to be ready to play this game.
Yep.
They'll be sharp.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into next game. Sorry, guys. Walker at Santa Mom. This game has a lot of
Another example of how much has Santa Mom rebounded from the loss.
Yeah. Walker, undefeated. They win this game. They effectively win district.
Yeah, they're undefeated in the district. They lost to one team. I think it was
they lost,
Mandeville.
That's out of district.
Yeah, out of district. But they're undefeated. Yeah, you're right. Undefeated in district and have a chance to win the district championship. And coming to the season, I don't think Walker was like either the first or second team I thought of when it comes to that district. And really, Coach Mahaffey and those guys could really make a lot of noise and win this district.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people thought, it's going to be Destrehan's district. And not saying they're going to walk through this district, because this district's tough. And a lot of people thought EA was going to be good, but they turned out to be
Springs.
this morning. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great. This is probably the most underrated district in the state this year. The amount of talent they have on these teams, and you can there's so much, but all these teams are great coaching staffs, are great players. But when you have all those great coaching staffs and great players, it's effectively a dog district, which is what it is.
Right.
And I think Walker wins this game. I think next week they have Denham, and I think they're going to beat Denham. It's a little too early to tell, but it's one of those things. I think if Walker wins this game, they effectively win district.
Yeah,
they have 2 losses. they already beat Dutchtown, so even though they tie with Dutchtown, let's say they lose next week. Even if they tie, they're tied with Dutchtown, but they effectively are over Dutchtown because they beat Dutchtown.
Yeah. Now it's weird in high school because technically they're going to give co-district.
Yeah.
Like, they still do that, even if you have head-to-head, if you have the same record. But that team's going to count themselves as district champions, even though they're going to be awarded co-district champions for the same record.
Right. But, let's get a little prediction. I think that Santa Mon's going to pull upset. I think this is a dog district. I think Santa Mon's kind of reeling from the loss against Dutchtown. Coach Alves going to coach these boys up. I think it will be a very low-scoring game, just like every other game this district, because Walker has a really great defense, but so does Santa Mon. I think Santa Mon will come up on top. I think they'll be fine. I think the offense is going to move the ball effectively down the field a little bit more. Cooper Babin at quarterback.
Yeah, right.
And I think they got some really great players. I think they'll rebound. I think it'll be 21-14 Santa Mon.
Yeah,
they pull up the win on senior night.
I agree with you. I think it's this game's gonna be a definition of what this district is. All these guys just beat each other out. So it's gonna be that type of district. It is usually that type of district too. So I agree with you. I'm gonna go with Sam Moth and want to bounce back. If anything, like I said before earlier in the show, I think this loss actually helps them because they don't have to dwell on the undefeated season, have that big grill on their back saying, "Hey, we got to continue to be undefeated." So if anything, this just kind of resets them, and I think it comes at a good time. So I'm gonna go with Sam Moth, get the win.
Yeah, and then, moving on. The next game we're going to head up on is Sterlington and Amy. This is a game that kind of stuck out.
Shout out to you, Carr. Carr's going to be follow Gridiron Football. He's going to make sure to follow that game, and he's going to give you updates throughout the day. So he's going to be at that game.
Right. This is a game that stuck up on us because I think a lot of people then, when we were looking at the schedule, were like, wait, they play each other?
Yeah.
Because
I think they played late last year.
Right.
It was non-district.
Right.
Last year.
It's, Sterlington's coming all the way from Monroe. Sterlington has been one of the better programs, not only in North Louisiana, but Louisiana as a whole.
Right.
I think they won a state championship in 2021.
Yeah, they did. They won in 2021.
And it was over. I think it was over.
Over Union Parish.
Union Parish. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they've also were state runner-ups, and I believe in 2018.
They
because they lost against Eunice.
Yes, and they won a state championship against Madison Prep a couple years ago. I think that was 2016.
Right. So they won two. So they won two state championships the last 7 years. So one of the better programs in all of Louisiana. And then they're traveling to A-Meet, and A-Meet. When we talk about A-Meet, usually you're like, oh damn, this A-Meet team's really good. And they got they've had a lot of great players come out of A-Meet.
Oh yeah.
Even though A-Meet's had a pretty good year, they've kind of flown under the radar.
Yeah, they have.
I think But, I think that's a good thing. I think, whenever your team's flying under the radar, you don't really know much about it. But then when you do, you're like, oh, this team's really good. But, there's a big 3A matchup. This has a lot of seeding implications,
Yeah.
This is a big win for power ratings, and this is a big win. It will be a big win for both teams. But what do you think? What do you hope to see from this game, Jace?
It's kind of like two conflicted styles, but really a lot of people see A-Meet as just a finesse football team with the skill weapons they got. I saw them play last year against Kentwood and tell them they're physical when they need to be. So this is not just a finesse football team. Sterlington, they're going to be a physical football team. That's just pretty much what they're predicated on. A lot of times they don't have the biggest guys up front, but they're just going to them coming off the football. I don't think I've seen an explosive team that comes off the football like I do with Sterlington. Like their offense and defense line, they just come off the football really hard and really fast.
Yeah.
So they're a physical football team. They want to bring it to A-Meet.
Right.
I really like Sterlington in this game, but the only reason that I'm going to still lean with A-Meet to get this win is because I think travel makes a difference, and for them to make that long drive to A-Meet, I like a more fresh A-Meet in this football game to get the win. But it should be a really good football team, and these are two teams that should be still hanging around after Thanksgiving time.
Right. I think I'll give it to Sterlington. I think it will be a very close game. I think it would be something along like 21-14.
Yeah.
I think these are two really physical. Even though Amy is a finesse team, they're a very physical team too. They're from they're in the country, so they're physical. They're country strong. They're gonna go right at you, smacking them out. But I think Sterlington's come out from top. I think Sterlington has they have one of the better rushing attacks in the state. Even though the numbers don't look like it, they're a very physical team. I think Tremal Colvin and Devin Dukes, Devin Downs, who's a freshman, by the way. He's committed to LSU for baseball.
Yeah, and Colvin's been there for a while.
Right, I think they're and Luke Hodnett is they're one of their offensive linemen is committed to play at he was committed to play TCU. TCU is one of the six schools. He's committed to play TCU. So they're a very physical team. I think Sterlington will come off on top. I think this will be a very good game for them. With playoffs being 2 weeks away. Yeah, and I think even though you probably don't want to take these types of trips late in the season, I think it's good to get that feeling, get that adrenaline going.
It gives you a playoff feeling, right? Because it's just like 2 or 3. Because you're going to have to be making trips like this when the playoffs come along. So, and also there's not a lot of teams in their class, non-district, that want to play these two teams. Right. So it's just the luck of the draw, and that these two teams are able to meet up. Right. But I think like on a neutral site or a game that's closer, I think Sterlington's the better football team. But I just think for this week, I think just that long drive, I think that makes a big difference in the football game. So I'm going to go with A-Meet on the slight edge.
Right, and the next game we're going to talk about is a game that you will be covering, Westminster Christian at St. Edmund. Westminster Christian, if you've been following our Player of the Week show, One or two of those guys have been on the list. Probably like three of the 6 or 7.
No, I think this is the Westminster in Opelousas. So
Opelousas?
Yeah, so you got Westminster in Lafayette and the Westminster in Opelousas.
Yeah,
So this is the Westminster in Opelousas.
They need to change that name.
It's weird. It confuses everybody.
And they're the same area. They're like only like
yeah,
20 minutes
yeah,
apart, so
yeah.
It's weird. So it's weird. But yes, but they're going against a very good St. Edmund team, as you may well know. Their running back,
Kevon Johnson.
He was the leading rusher for a very long time until Jamar and Island broke.
From Union Parish. All they do is run the football there.
Of course. But now Kevon Johnson's, again, another member of the class of 2026. Very good running back, and he's going to be making noise throughout his whole high school career.
He's already beaten like all their records already.
Oh yeah,
he's still
exactly.
a sophomore.
What do you hope to see out of this game, and who you think the winner is going to be?
Yeah, and James Shivers, obviously a good friend of us, and he was actually one of the head football coaches for the winning team last year in the Gridiron Football American Bowl game. So I know he's been texting us every week like, Kevon is still number one. He's the leading rusher in the state. He's not. So you know what? The last 2 years, he was our first ever Gridiron Football Player of the Week. So I was like, hey, I might as well see him, So this will be the first time I'll get this chance to see him live. So I'm really excited about that, and really excited to support Westminster as well. They went to a Gridiron Football Media Day. They got a new head football coach. I think they're 5-3, so they're doing an excellent job this year. Obviously, a really tough task in St. Edmund in the Blue Jays. So looking forward to seeing that game. And Kevon Johnson, I'm looking forward to watch him play. I'm looking forward to see how he does and what kind of player he is and why he's just been playing really video game numbers week in and week out. So I'm looking forward to see that on Thursday. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the amount of texts he's going to send us. Hey, Kevon did this, Kevon did that.
I get it every week.
We're already expecting it.
Coach, it's another day at the office for him.
It's another day in the office. The next thing you know, this man's rushed for 500 yards in the game. And, it's just, but, it is what it is. But Kevon Johnson is a fantastic back. I think is somebody you should watch out for down the line. You got, after this year, you got 2 more years for him. So Joel and Miley's still here, but we found him first. Damn it, we found him first. We didn't find him. We found him.
Oh yeah, we did. We're gonna claim him as one of ours. Yeah. So
shout out to Andy Bryson.
Andy and coach was telling about this kid since he was in 8th grade. So it's good to see him still early, but I guess right in smack dab middle of his football career.
I got St. Edmund in this game. I think they're going to continue their
I agree.
hot streak. Yeah, they've been one of the harder teams in the state, and they're going to make a lot of noise come playoff time. But moving on, another big game, another kind of a sleeper game is Ascension Catholic at White Castle.
Yeah.
Ascension Catholic.
Talk about good running backs.
Chad Elzy.
Chad Elzy's another one.
Might rush for 500 yards this week because he always does. I don't think so because I think this White Castle team is a little bit better. White Castle is one of the better teams. It's always been one of the better teams in 1A. They always seem to make a lot of noise, a lot of talent out of White Castle.
They do.
They're always going to be White Castle always be one of those teams that's going to make noise. They always are. Same thing. And, Ascension Catholic's made some noise recently.
Sure.
Under Chris Andrews and Chad Elzy, and then they were a semifinal team last year.
Yeah.
So what do you hope to see out of this game, and do you think that White Castle may pull off the upset?
They always have the athletes to really beat you, and that really goes back when they even had Ron Martin on their football team, who was a safety at LSU, was a quarterback at White Castle and won state. This is a team that's always had great skill talent, and I was talking to my dad a little bit about them too. They got a nose guard that's like 350 pounds at White Castle. And that's going to be the key because if you can try to contain Chad Elzy and stop the running game, it gives you a really good shot. Force Ascension Catholic to beat you in other ways. So if they can contain the run, contain Chad Elzy, that is definitely going to be the key. I just don't think they're going to be I don't think Elzy's going to run for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns on 8 carries. But I still think Elzy's going to be very effective in this football game and give me Ascension Catholic to get this victory over White Castle.
Mm-hmm. And Mark Brown has done a great job at White Castle. Right now, I believe White Castle 7-1. And essentially got to 6-2. They've had two really tough losses with
one of them's Episcopal.
And then Dunham.
Yeah.
Probably two of the better teams in Division III Select.
Right.
But I think they're gonna make some noise come playoff time. I think they're gonna make another push like they did last year because I think they have a great coaching staff. They got a lot of great players, and the quarterback Jake Larringer is a fantastic quarterback as well.
Good high school, really good high school.
Oh yeah,
quarterback.
yeah. So I think they're still gonna make a lot of noise. And White House's defense, I think, is gonna be a little bit bigger. I think they're gonna make Chad Elsey. I think Chad Elsey's gonna have a little bit tougher time. I think Chad Elsey's still gonna be Chad Elsey.
Yeah.
He's still gonna eat.
I still see him having like 200 yards.
He's still gonna eat his snacks. Okay, he's still gonna.
He's gonna be able to eat.
He's gonna have his chips with the dip, but I think he's not gonna have one of those 300-yard games like he usually
7 touchdown games.
7 touchdown, 300-yard games like he usually has. But I think I'm gonna pick Ascension Catholic. I think it'll be 35-21. I think White Castle will make it interesting, but I think Ascension Catholic.
I think Ascension Catholic pulls away.
Ascension Catholic pulls away late. It's another big game in the Baton Rouge area. I think I know the Baton Rouge area really hasn't had that many. Probably not gonna have that many great games this weekend.
There's gonna be one. There's gonna be 2 or 3 next week.
For sure. Oh yeah, which we'll get to talk about next week. We're focusing on this weekend, but I think the last game we're gonna cover, and then we're gonna be outie, is Southern Lab at Kentwood. Two really good 1A teams.
Shout out to Sean. Sean's going to be able to go to that one and cover that game for Gridiron.
Yep.
So.
And Kentwood is currently at the number 1 team in Division 4 not select, and then Southern Lab's number 6. Their only loss because a pretty good Madison Prep team.
Yeah,
we were there, and it came down to the wire. So
defensive game.
And Southern Lab beat a very good Dunham team too.
Yeah, convincingly.
By 2 touchdowns. Yeah. So I think they're still a very good team. I think this is probably one of the more intriguing matchups around the state. Despite I think a lot of people like to look at the bigger schools because obviously there's more teams, more depth. But this game is probably one of the more appealing games in the state.
Oh yeah, for the smaller school size.
There's a lot of talent on both sides.
Yeah, there is.
Kentwood is always going to have great teams, and Southern Labs are always going to have. And they currently have a bunch of D1 prospects on their team right now.
Oh yeah.
But what are you looking forward to in this game, and what do you expect from this game? And then do you think that Kentwood can beat Southern Lab, or do you think vice versa? I think this game could go either way.
Yeah, I think what Kentwood was made them so unique is Coach Foster does an excellent job with that team, and I have tons of respect for Coach Foster. I know him and my dad coached against each other a couple of times, and really I talked to Coach Foster, and Dad will notice that, will recognize this too. But he could have easily put like 60, 70 points on some of my dad's East Riverville teams, but he hasn't. Right. He's one of those classy guys, coaches in the state. He doesn't run the score up on you. So I mean, I appreciate that, and he's always been a really classy guy, and is a great football coach. So his teams always have great speed. That's one thing about it. I mean, obviously they had Trey Palmer a couple years, so they obviously had great speed, and they've had speed every year. But really, the big thing is what Sun Lab going to do. They got a big offensive line. I mean, Jude Foster's their left tackle, committed to Ole Miss. They got D1 talent. I mean, Dylan Day's committed to Miami. So. Really, Marlon Brown's kind of the key, and see how he does throwing the football. Because when he's right, because I see him games where he's throwing the football. I saw a game last year against the Voiles. He was the best player on the field. When he's that dude, you're not beating Southern Lab, and that's what happened in that Dunham game. And Marlon Brown had himself a great game. So when he's on, it's going to be hard to beat that Southern Lab football team, and I have a good feeling about Southern Lab in this football game. So give me Southern Lab to win. I think it's going to be close for about 3.5, 4 quarters, but I think late in the game, I think just kind of the will and just the size of Southern Lab, the athletes they got, I think they're going to kind of pull away at the end.
Yeah. And so I agree with you. I think Southern Lab, is going to win this game. I think it's going to be close till the very end. Kind of similar to the Madison Prep game. I think it'll be along the lines of 28-21, 28-24. One of those games. I think it'll be a very close game. Southern Lab, I think, is hot right now. They obviously had that disappointing loss against Madison Prep, but they've been one of the harder teams in this area. And not only this area, but in the state, and they can very well win state this year.
Mm-hmm.
Very well could. I know they got a lot of great teams in the Division Four non-selected game. I mean, you got St. Martin's, you got Washington Christian, Riverside, who's been very hot too. Vermilion Catholic, who's
Vermilion
currently
Catholic,
who was in the state runners last year, and they're currently the undefeated and the number 1 team in Division Four select as well. So I think Southern Lab could very well make some noise. I think they'll push people to the brink because of their talent, and they have a great coaching staff. But I have to go with Southern Lab in this one. I think a lot of great games this weekend, Jace. A lot of great games. I mean, a lot of close ones, and also just shout out Ken Wood for the hometown of Britney Spears.
Yeah, there you go.
So
there you go.
Southern
Lab's
gonna
one of my childhood crushes there. By the way.
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna roll into Britney Spearsville and
that's right.
Beat the Caterers of Kentwood, but they're gonna use this motivation and they're probably gonna win. That's probably what's gonna happen because I blame you. I'm always gonna blame Jace. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
That's always the case.
But I really enjoyed doing this podcast, the show, whatever you want to
fun.
call it. Well, but it's called Protect the Boot.
Uh-huh.
We got to protect the boot. We got to show the why Louisiana is the best state.
Mm-hmm. We're maybe a little biased, but we think it's the best.
We think it's better than Texas. We think it's bigger than Texas. We'll mess with Texas, but at the end of the day, thank y'all for joining us. I'm glad I got to do the show with Chase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Usually there'll be a lot more banter between us, but there isn't this show. I think you were just kind of feeling it out and just
see how the show goes.
But next weekend, a lot of big games. You're probably gonna see a little bit more banter.
Oh, I think
especially
so too.
Because Catholics on the schedule.
Catholic's gonna be involved more. Trust me.
Cowboy,
baby.
See you guys next week. Protect the boot.
Protect the boot.